All right, everybody, welcome back to Canada Hoops. It's your boy, Matty. Thank you for your continued support. Please keep downloading and sharing us. Visit our YouTube channel, hit us up on Instagram and X.com. We're excited to welcome today's guest to the podcast as we hit you with a collaboration episode with none other than Aaron Mitchell and a Hoops Journey. Aaron and a Hoops Journey have been instrumental in sharing so many stories of so many great people in Canadian basketball. Mitch, man, appreciate you doing this. Let's go, man.
Yeah, buddy. Let's go is right. Fired up, Maddie. It's a pleasure to finally connect and do this. This is going to be really dope. I'm super thrilled to be a part of the show and have followed you from, since your day one and our day one. And there's so many good people out there doing good things. So it's always fun to collab, man. On behalf of our podcast, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, it's very well said. And same, man. Just love the hoops journey from the go and, what you've done and, your spot in the community. I think it's so important. And you're a great facilitator of everyone telling their story. And I think, I'm sure we have a lot of same listeners, which is great. And you guys do tremendous stuff. Just let's check in. Let our listeners and your listeners and the Canadian basketball community know how life is going for you, man.
Things are good, man. We just day one of spring break here out in the West Coast. Super, super rainy, nasty day, and I think it's going to be like this for a few. But such is life out here. We just wrapped up our high school season and our provincials a week ago, which is always a crazy time. I took a step back from coaching this year just to be home and be with
Okay.
our family, 9-year-old, and just sort of, but still was involved from an administrative perspective. 22 years at my school and done the varsity program for 20 of those. So did JV and then been coaching varsity for 20. So it was actually really nice. It was nice. People said, what did you do with all your time? And I said, I just got filled up with a million other things. So
Yeah.
just coming off that, the provincials went really, really well. We get close to 7,000 people on the Saturday night watching high school ball, which is really dope to see.
Amazing.
Yeah, super, super, very good. And that just a big culture out in BC. It's really blown up. It's always been pretty strong, but I think the fans are really supporting it out at the LEC where the Bandits play. And then, yeah, we're just home for this week. Little guys at camp, wife's working, which she loves me being home when she's working from home. That's a joke for the people who don't get my sarcasm yet.
Yeah.
And and then we're off to Canmore for a few days. So looking forward to a little bit of a break. Best time of year. We got March Madness just rolling up on us.
Yeah.
The girls overseas right now, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit, but just I feel like February, March is a great time for hoop heads for sure. How are you,
Oh,
man?
major. Oh man, so good, man. Life is good, and much the same as you. Just really loving the basketball fever right now. This time of year is so fun. Just there's something for everybody at all levels, and yeah, you can lock in on the national team stuff, like you said, or everyone playing an NCAA tournament or the high school scene, and yeah, it just feels like this time was built for basketball people, and there's it's always a special time of year. We talked before we hit record, Aaron, just about
Mhm,
like the coaching tree, and for you and that role. I know you're a big part of your community there with that. You mentioned you're the
mhm.
president of the PC High School Basketball Association, the boys there. Like, was that something you were always keen on? You were a good player as well, but as you phase out of playing and look at coaching and just trying to impact kids, like just tell me about that and
Mhm.
how that came to be for you, and why you've loved to do it and why it's important, man.
Appreciate it. Good question. I think I remember being in Jerry Hemming's class when I was out at University of Brandon, and he basically made us. He did this project where we had to write a letter to ourselves in 10 years and where we wanted to be. And without even knowing it, I started to write about how I wanted to be a high school teacher and coach at Terry Fox High School, which is where I went. I attended the same school as Terry, not with Terry. I'm not that old,
Right.
right? But the name of the school was Poco High, and then it got changed and was named after him, which is super cool. And it was an honor to play and wear the jersey with that. He's our greatest Canadian hero, in my opinion. And so there's that. And so I took a year out of college and worked in out of school care. And I thought to myself, man, I really enjoy working with these kids. And I had no idea what I was wanted to do. I'd finished my third year. So I took my fourth year out, realized that I wasn't going to make the NBA and I probably needed to find a career. And I
Right.
just felt like I connected with kids really well. And then, basketball being a tool and something that helped me grow as a person. And, my high school coaches for sure were my two biggest mentors. Like you said offline, Maddie, just father figures. I had a really good dad, but these guys saw me during basketball season more than my own dad saw me, and the values and the things that they put towards me, and the boundaries and the way they pushed me and how they made me a better human. I felt like that was something that I really wanted to be a part of as well. And when you combine that with the love for sport and competitiveness, there's nothing greater. And I think we're in a place right now where, we had Jack Armstrong and he was talking about transactional and that idea of sense of just giving back for nothing. I
Yeah.
think we've kind of lost that a little bit as society. It is always kind of, well, what's going to come back to me? And I can tell you 22 years in, I have no plans to move on. I will come back to coaching, and these kids fulfill me more than any classroom could or any, camp that I'm getting paid to do. So it's just a very purposeful thing and I love it. And I wouldn't trade it for the world because they don't really realize what we get back by coaching them, right? They give us more than we could ever give them, I think. And if they happen to end up moving on, great. But all we want them to do is be more prepared for life after high school, really.
How what have connections and relationships been like with you with these kids over the years when they now become adults and have their own
Hmm.
families, and there's times to catch up, and now it's maybe having a pint with them,
Hmm.
just reflect on that and what those moments are like, those conversations are like, because you've spanned a couple decades of doing it now.
Hmm.
But yeah, just let us know what that's like for you when you can have these moments with them, um, in life way beyond basketball now.
Hmm. Um, I think, man, you're making me. This is a lot for a Monday morning. I should have got another
My-
coffee. Yeah,
yeah,
no, you're nailing it. You got your coffee going. I got my water. No, man. I
yeah,
mean, is there anything? Why else do we do it? I think as teachers, we can kill ourselves sometimes in the sense of we focus so much on curriculum. The real curriculum is the stuff that happens in between the lessons. It's the road
yeah,
trips. It's the moments in class when you connect with a kid. Anybody can teach the content. We can all learn that content. It's how do you get that to the kids and make the connect, and how do you connect with them? And there's no better feeling when you're with your son or your wife in the mall or out socially and a kid comes out of their way to say hi to you, Mr. Mitchell. And unfortunately, a lot of times it takes me a moment. Like I always tell my wife, if I don't introduce you, just say, hi, I'm Reagan. And then they'll say, I'm so and so. And then it'll click for me, right? Because
yeah,
there's
yeah.
just so many kids that you've met. But I'm in a group chat on WhatsApp with the group of kids that I coached in 2012. Right, we still have a WhatsApp group chat, and life is busy, so the getting together is harder and harder. But just that connection right there. At our school, I'm the only person between our grade eight. It's not true. Two people between our grade eight, junior, senior team, so three teams at the boys level that isn't an alumni of our school, and one is a friend, two are friends, and the rest of them played for me in our program and have decided to come back and give their time. And they're not teachers, they have careers outside of that. So for me, that is the fruit of the labor, seeing these kids grow, learn, and develop and become young men and women. It really is why I'm in it. It's what I love to do. If you happen to get invited to the odd wedding, that's even better. But when you do bump into them or someone reaches out and asks for a reference or says, hey, life update, or even just when they want to follow you on Instagram or something and then they message you, that's really truly the special part for me and why I do it. It has nothing to do with their letter grades. High school is meant for kids to learn and grow, make mistakes, and become better. So you nailed it with that question, man. That's literally what I'm all about. Relationships over everything.
Man, love it. I think it's vital, for I think what people need these days, and I thought you nailed it with, like giving back without expecting anything. And what's this going to do for me? We've lost that.
Hmm.
I truly believe that as well. And just really, feeling selfless in that effort to help others. And um, what in your role coaching with the high school scene there in BC, you talked about just
Hmm.
the hype with it. Like, what are families and parents and players and coaches like you and the community saying about maybe where the grassroots side of things are going and what is missing, maybe what needs to change because the popularity and the growth and the cost of the game has exploded. Like, what are those conversations like right now for you and your community, which is I'm sure is a very similar, um, discussion across the country. Just what are people saying about the game and just kind of where it is right now at that level and what's impacting it, perhaps.
Hmm. It's a hot topic and question right now for sure, man.
Yeah,
And I have a few thoughts on it. We've never had more kids playing in BC. I'm not totally sure we're improving though. So that's a concern for me. And people may disagree with that. I'm kind of like the Switzerland when it comes to this stuff because I only like yourself, I only have so much emotional energy to invest into things, right? And so if someone
yeah,
wants to start a club and do a community thing and make money off it, that's their world, right? If someone wants to volunteer, that's their world as well. But I just wonder if what we're doing is, are we really actually intentionally getting these kids better? Because we've never had more kids playing basketball. But I think we throw the word elite around a little too early. I think we sell ourselves a little bit, and I think the marketing that comes with that. And for me, it's when there's bread on the table that changes things. And that's why it's never been a space that, for me personally, I can only speak from my perspective, that I've wanted to get into. We're on a little spring break camp or a winter camp and a summer camp at my school from 9 to 12. Me and a buddy, we make a few bucks off of it. But to do that as half my salary or even more, it just isn't, it's just not for me. It's not what I want to do. So um, I think it's going to take some real tough conversations. What we need to figure out is, how does everybody able get to have what they want and need and be able to eat and put food on their table, but also why are we doing it and how are we getting better? And so one of the big things, there's lots of talk about prep school. Matt Kosminski from Vancouver Island University is now stepping away, and he started a prep school out on the island. Love him, great guy. I know he'll do a great job. Um, but I think we're in a space with parents and families of keeping up with the Joneses. We have a 9-year-old, he's neurodivergent, pretty ADHD. He's a busy kid, but team sports just aren't his thing. And
right.
my wife and I grew up playing sport our whole lives, but we don't feel pressure to force him to go into something that he doesn't want to do because that's just going to push him away further. He says he plays soccer at lunch every day on the field. Good enough for us. He kicks the ball around outside. Good for us. He's into swimming, parkour, other things. But I feel like at 9, 10 years old, these parents think if they're not spending 3 to 6 grand on programs all summer, that they're going to get behind somehow. And I don't know how we alleviate that pressure and how people don't still get paid without, maybe, I don't want to say they're false promises, but it's a complex thing, and it's something that's kind of made its way. It's made it through your province a little bit, right? You guys have more preps and academies established than we do. And
Yeah,
now we're sort of faced with it. And it's also a numbers game. Like, you can tell me whatever you want. Ontario just has more kids. Like, they just they're going to have more kids playing, and
yeah.
proximity to the border and all those things. I think there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And my only thing is, if you're going to do it for the right reason. It should be kids first, no matter what it is. So I don't know if that kind of answers it. I could go on for a while
No, that's good.
because we're in a weird space with it, right? And I just hope that people have the best of intentions for families and kids, because it can get really mucky.
Yeah, I'm not. I know it's a hot topic, and that's
Hmm.
obviously you're more in tune to it than I am. And I'm not invested in it in terms of, I don't have a child that's doing it. I'm always curious. It is a numbers thing, and I see more and more programs popping up across the country. I try to stay on top of them just for the pod and content and catch who's on the rise for a player. But to me, it seems, and maybe this speaks to what you're saying a little bit. It just is starting to seem really watered down. And you reference like people always like elite whatever, and it's yeah, families want to spend the money, so be it, and people are trying to make a living with it. But yeah, it doesn't. I'm neutral on it as well, Aaron, because I
Mm,
just don't know enough about it, and
mhm.
I'm looking to maybe follow players and programs when they get to a higher level with like national
Yeah.
team interest or whatever, and I'll lock in. But I know some of the people here in Calgary and in the province that run some of the programs. Great people. I think they have the kids' best interests
Yeah.
in mind for the most part, and they're producing really great players. And the game is more popular than ever, like you said. So and there is a need for it to a degree, obviously, to provide higher end players an opportunity, and there's going to be players that just do it because they love the game too. So it's
Yeah.
something that I know. When Michael Bartlett too, and the Canada Basketball as a program is something that they've tied into, obviously, and are invested in to support provinces in that sense too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, and then
I
and
think a
then
big thing too, brother, sorry to cut you off, is like
no
it's
go.
you've touched on it in your life too, is um from the up north, right? The coaches you had, those teacher coaches, we just don't BC just doesn't we're losing more and more of them every year. So those
Right.
the men and women that are in the building, and God bless the people that volunteer coach those high school teams, right? Whether it's a dad that follows up his daughter for 5 years, but then after that the program just folds because no one steps in. And you need the people on ground connecting with the kids, checking in. Like it's just, and it's not a priority here in the public system. I'm privileged to be in a private school, so I know that we have other privileges that others don't. So I'm not speaking from a pedestal down at people, because I get it. But until schools here and districts make it a priority to, and principals bring culture to schools and hire drama teachers, art teachers, music teachers, all those people where the learning, the real learning that we've talked about happens,
Right.
then it's just going to not happen. And we're going to, and that's going to continue to water down. So what they go to their club, play for their club, they come to their high school, and God bless, but they have some volunteer coach or just a teacher moderator who's just rolling the balls out and doesn't even know X's and O's. So that high school experience and those teacher coaches are just, those are the people that we looked up to and grew up and emulating and affected our lives. And now a lot of kids aren't getting that, so that's also a major issue as well, I think, here out in BC.
No, well said, man. Just let's kind of go back, man. Just like
Sure.
why basketball for you, man? Like as a young guy, and I know you're tall. Maybe that had a factor, but just talk about the game like coming into your life, man, and why you're a hooper to this day, and just what it's meant to you, man.
Yeah. um Hate talking about myself in this way, but it is part of
I
the
know.
journey.
Yeah.
So my dad was the store manager of Woodward's department store. For those that know, who's old enough head to know Woodward's, that's before the Bay, that's before Walmart. It was the one-stop shop where you could get everything. And so
Yeah.
my brother was actually born in Calgary,
Okay.
and then we moved to Penticton, where I was born, and then we moved to the island when we were younger. And so we actually grew up like a block and a half down from Steve and Marty Nash.
Nice.
And my dad put a basketball hoop up in our driveway. It was super narrow, like on the side, you could barely shoot a free throw on the side, but like facing the hoop, but it was long, so you could shoot corner threes, and you know what I mean. We do trick shots from the lawn and stuff like that. And I was a busy kid. I loved baseball, basketball, soccer. Like I went tennis camp, like anything I could. I just loved playing sports. I was highly competitive, maybe to a fault when I was younger. Just emotionally, you just couldn't keep myself together after big losses and stuff. But I just loved playing sports, and my parents were very supportive of anything that we wanted to do and did their best to put us in programs. And I remember playing a lot of soccer, and then my dad started a little basketball league at Willows Elementary in Victoria,
Okay.
and actually ran into Steve at the Jewish Community Center dinner a week and a half ago there. And as soon as I mentioned my name, he was like, "Dude, we used to live like a block from each other." And so it was really great to see him and Marty and catch up just briefly. But I think he even remembers those days. And so my dad started a little league, and they had teams, and so I was always the annoying little brother that would just tag along, right? I remember being in the van, and so I'd be shooting on the side, or if they'd show up and my brother's team would only have four, I'd be the fifth.
Yeah.
And then I just think, like, as I got older, it just was a sport that I was drawn to. It was easy. You could go to the park, you could have your own ball. You didn't need much else. You could bring a couple buddies. If you didn't, you'd just go and see if someone else was there. We had a hoop out front of our house, and I just fell in love with it. I would get my little, tape player going. Make a mixtape and play my music blaring into the street. I'm sure the neighbors hated it. One of our neighbors was an electrician. He made us this huge box light, and
Nice.
these guys were like 4 or 5 years older than me. But when you're that age, they're like gods to you, right? When you're 10 or 11 and someone's 15 or 16 years old and they're playing high school ball, you think, and you're like, they're at my house and they're letting me play. So they all called me Weenie because I was the little guy, right? So my
Yeah.
nickname was Weenie, but they weren't allowed to play on our court unless me and my bro were on, right? And
Right.
it just became a community thing, which is, I think, the thing you and I both appreciate about basketball, and that's the love we felt, is that community piece. So I played pretty high level soccer, and that started to drop. And then it was really baseball and basketball for me. I love baseball, still do to this day. And then just in high school, I really started to lock in, and thought it would be something that I wanted to move on with. Started to get surrounded with really great teammates and coaches and have some success in high school. And that's where I was really like, there was no other option. It was just hoops for me, in terms of a participation thing. Yeah.
And then you played at Brandon, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I played at this is where so I played at Capilano in the old
Okay.
BCC AA. So this is when, SFU, UVic, and UBC were the only universities. Everything else, Trinity, TRU, they were all part of the college league, right? And it was really almost like a JUCO league. It was a stepping stone to go to what would have been CIU sports. Man, am I ever aging myself here, brother?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
CIAU. That's way back.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
way
Go
back.
ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Timmy McAuliffe, our year at Nationals, I was like, he was still working for the score, and he was doing the sideline reporting. It's hilarious. But
Nice.
yeah, so I played Cap, and then I failed out. I just stopped going to classes after March, after basketball season. It was like, didn't see a point. So I ended up getting an F on my transcript, which for anybody that's listening, you got to get at least a pass in a course, because that sticks with you forever, which is,
Yeah.
being young and dumb, not realizing. And so I had to sit out the first semester. I transferred to Langara to play for Kevin Hansen, who was the long-term coach at UBC.
Yeah.
I had to sit out. So that would have been 96, 97. I was ineligible and had to pass a certain amount of courses. So I played the second semester at Langara. We hosted the Nationals that year. We finished fourth. We lost to Grant McEwen in the first round. It was crazy. And it was Humber Durham final. Yeah. And then so play at Langara, and then ended up transfer after some great years. Randy Knorr and some other great teammates won the national championship, which was amazing. Ended up going to Brandon, where Gil Chung, who's the head coach now, was from Richmond, and he had success in high school and played 1 year at Langara. And he was like, you got to come out here. You got to come out here. And so it was between that or St. FX, ironically,
Wow.
because Randy and my teammate James Maximu were at St. FX. And Coach K was really great. He was honest with me. He said, if we're going to bring a guy out for his fifth year, it's going to be, we see you as a starter or sixth man. And he was like, I don't know where we see for you. And I was like, that's great. That's okay. And then Brandon, most of my courses ended up transferring anyways. So at this point too, I was thinking, hey, how can I get school done? How can I move on with my life and career as well? I was still loving hoops, obviously. So I went out to Brandon, and we ended up losing in the national final to St. FX in overtime. So,
Crazy.
which is
Crazy.
which is crazy, but it's a great experience, playing hoops on the prairies, great people, great environment. I ended up volunteering and coaching some high school there while I was finishing my education degree, and finished my degree there, and then came back home. Yeah.
Love it, man. Like, who was a favorite player for you, man, growing up as a kid? You just talk about like people talk about people in their community they look up to, and we always have players around us like that. But
Mhm.
anybody stand out for you? Who was a guy that you just really liked, man?
Oh, Magic Johnson's my favorite player ever.
Okay.
I used to just, like, my brother was a Celtics fan. I was Lakers.
Nice.
He had the garbage can with the hoop that was Celtics, and I had Lakers. And so that was another reason to be rival brothers. But we got along pretty good for the most part. But yeah, no, there was something about his charisma. I'm a pretty Some people would say gregarious, nauseously gregarious person, but I'm an extrovert, and the way he played the game and the way he was able to express himself, and I think who he was as a person was something that I didn't realize when I was young. Obviously, I wasn't thinking like this, but when I think about why, just the way he carried energy and like how he celebrated his teammates and what he did for the game, I just was enthralled with his style and what he was able to do. So like I just loved everything about Magic and how he just he changed the game in a lot of ways, right? You think about being a 6'8", 6'9" point guard at that era, starting at center for Abdul Jabbar as a rookie, that confidence. So there was just so many things. I remember I used to record NBA Inside Stuff
Yeah.
and NBA Action. They had the top 10 countdown at the end, and that would be like my pregame. I'd have the same meal and I'd watch the top 10 highlights, and it would get me fired up. And so just so many other things. I love Charles Barkley too. As I got older, I realized, I wasn't going to be 6'9", and, a smaller power forward who was aggressive and like he didn't back down. I really liked the way he played as well. So those were kind of guys that I was really drawn to, guys that really loved kind of feeding off the crowd and the energy of the game. Yeah.
What's like when you've done talking about growing up in the game, and then as we're both older now, and at this point in our life, like what when you reflect on the game and just the impact, and you talked about it with the coaching side, but
Mhm.
um, to still be passionate about the game, going back to being a player, and just like through the years, like what has the game just meant to you personally? And just sometimes we identify that way, like I'm a basketball guy, I'm a hooper for life, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And just when you think about the game as a constant and its role and its impact in your life, Mitch, like just talk about that a bit, because I know, like for me, especially lately too, it's just been like, wow, I'm grateful for this, and it's just a small thing, and it's a passion, but just the impact and the role and the connection, the relationships, and just
Mhm.
grateful to have that. I felt like it kept me out of a lot of trouble in my life, like honestly, man. Grateful for that too. So, yeah, just talk about what the game's meant to you, man.
Mhm. Oh man, that's a great question. Thank you. As you speak there, I think of we had Warren Ward on the show,
Nice.
great
Yeah,
baller, yeah, and he's got his own podcast, and it's called "You Only Die Twice," and so it's about that. No matter where you were, or where you played, if you just played high school or you played college, you played national team, pro, any athlete, you kind of die twice, and you sort of when that sport is a huge part of you and it's a big identity for you as a player. I'll admit it was hard to deal with sort of when all that came to an end, and I was like, well, I'm just going to coach because I love basketball. And then I think as you dive more into that, you start to realize it's feeding your soul, right? It's giving you purpose to give back the things that you learned. And so I would say 90% of the connections I have to this day in my personal life are through the game, right? Play relationships with people that I didn't know who they were that have become friends.
yeah,
Um, the reason I have my job is through basketball. I was played basketball with my buddy who was young. His mom was the secretary at our school. She was like, "Hey, we should hire you. Let the principal know." You know what I mean? Like those little weird stories about how things and you sense it too, Maddie, through just running a podcast. We think that the basketball community is really big, and it's like it's really small. It actually
yeah,
really is, right?
yeah.
And so, how do I summarize? I don't want to summarize it yet because it's still going for me. It still
Nice.
means that
Yeah,
much to me. I still get so much joy from it, watching others grow, develop. I have friends whose kids are excelling in the high school level, just so many little moments. Um, but again, as we go back, it's all about the relationships, right? And it's those connections and the people that you meet along the way and the ones that you intentionally have a relationship with that you can lean on when you need each other, whether it's in your personal or professional life. So, I mean, it's yeah, I don't get as much time to watch the game. I don't get
yeah.
as much time to be involved with the game, but it's still everything about it is still, so important to me, man.
Love it, man. Yeah, no, well said. I think the people that not just basketball, but any kind of passion they have can relate to that. And I think um, maybe our perspective, because it is basketball, is unique, and what the impact has
Yeah.
been. And I just,
I mean, what about for you? I mean, think about it, right? We're both doing this podcast thing, and we all know we ain't making thousands of dollars off of this. And people go,
yeah.
"Why do you keep going?" So when someone says to you, like, like, because that Simon Sinek start with why, there you're a shift worker, man. Like you're getting ready to go on a shift here after we get off this. You're juggling your life to try to make this whole, and you're contacting some guy or girl who's playing in France and making it work when really you don't need to be doing it. So for you, like, what's the reason? Like why does Maddie still show up and try to give content? And because we're all getting something from this, right? It's not just, oh, we're happy to give it out. There's some stuff with us internally that I think connects it too, right? So let me
Well, I
flip it
just,
on you, broski.
I think like for me, man, it's just, like, yeah, I still play men's league or whatever. And,
At a boy.
like try to get up and down and still feel good. And, but yeah, just, I think because what the game has meant to me and the impact in the relationship, like it's kind of my way, obviously, to stay connected, but also, maybe give back in that sense too. Like I'd love to coach. We talked about, just not able to do that. And, I think I would be good at it. And, I just, and not, and good at it in the sense that to help others, like, and
Yeah.
push them along. And, yeah. And honestly, it's just, at the time with the pod, like I was just looking for, I think I had like pretty much just turned 40 and I was like, I want to challenge myself with something. I always love sports talk, radio and media and interviews. And so and obviously I pretty deep into like the passion for Canada basketball and the program itself,
Hmm.
going
Hmm.
back to like Nash and the guys in Sydney. And so it just felt like a natural thing to do. I'd kind of made like contact with Carl English and like Leo a little bit prior to kind of putting it together. So there was an idea there. And I just like, honestly, Aaron, it's just a way to stay connected, I think, through the game. And, I feel like, um, it's my way to maybe serve others in that sense in terms of, maybe there's like some of my favorite episodes and guests have been maybe lesser known, but then
Sure.
just amazing conversations and they appreciate the opportunity, especially
Hmm.
for the women too, because the women have just said, "Hey, Maddie, really appreciate that." Because they don't get enough shine the way they deserve at times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
they've been great in supporting us. And then, just even in January, like 2 months ago, I went back home to Whitehorse for the first time in 15 years. And the reason I went up there is like my brother had passed away in October. And his friends, my brother was a very talented musician. And his friends in that community and his band wanted to have like a gathering and a service, not even a service, like a celebration of life for him. And so
Hmm.
like, "Hey, Maddie, we're not going to do this unless you're here." So we put that together. Now the other side of that, Aaron, is that I had reconnected with old teammates and friends that I hadn't seen in so long, and another guy came up from Alberta too, and my coach there put together like an alumni run and just having those conversations again with people and was really cool. And just to see the people that have helped me so much still
Hmm.
doing it, it's been really inspiring. So I think like, yeah, the game has just been something that I could always lean on, like no matter what's going on in life,
Hmm.
and just and then now it's like still a health pursuit in a sense to get out and run and meet new people. You're still meeting new people through it all the time, which is super great. And very grateful for it. Like my dad was a hockey player, very good hockey player, and he raised my brother and I on his own as a single dad in the 80s and 90s when not a lot of men were doing that. And
Hmm.
he just valued sport in terms of like teamwork and participation and keeping you busy to stay out of trouble. And couldn't afford to put us in hockey, being a single dad. So I started playing soccer, was high level soccer, and then really just fell in love with basketball because like, man, this sport is so cool, man. Like, especially you think about mid late 90s and just the players
Oh,
and,
yeah.
the culture, and I was like, this is it for me, man. Like I was so addicted, and um, Steve is probably, I would say, like my guy I really liked the most in that era, and
Hmm.
MJ too. I love MJ so much. So no, man, the game is important. I try to, I guess, you know, um, love the game because it loved me back. I like to kind of say that to people sometimes too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I felt like the game was really good to me. So I just feel like, the pod and making a new friend with you today and the conversations we have. I think it's important, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for sharing that. And just the power of storytelling, right? Like,
Yeah,
if one person is still listening right now, they've learned something more about you. I just learned even more about you that I would have never probably, like, if I didn't ask that question, you didn't share that story and be vulnerable to share that,
yeah,
then it's just, oh, that's just Maddie, the guy who hosts Canada Hoops. You know what I mean? And now
yeah,
it's like, oh, there's one more, something twined even closer to being connected with you, man. So thanks for sharing that. It's good stuff.
yeah. It's a small world, man. It truly is. Like I
Yeah,
remember,
dude.
um, you talk about Coach K, and I had a conversation with him here in Calgary because he was working with the Surge.
Hmm.
And I just, geez, coach, like, it's an honor to meet you. And I said, I actually played against you at Canada Games. And it was the last game I had ever played for the Yukon. And we actually had a really good group of guys through those years. Like a lot of us played college and university. And, but we played Nova Scotia. We're playing against Coach K. And we make a run. We're putting
Hmm.
pressure on them, and like Steve's pissed on the sideline. He's like, "Come on!" He's choked at his team. Right? They end up beating us, but I see Coach K here in Calgary a couple years ago, and I said, "I played against you," and he remembered that game like it was yesterday. And I said, "Yeah, I played for Tim Brady," and he goes, "Well, I know Tim. Tim's a great friend of mine, and
Hmm.
um, Coach Brady is a huge impact in my life. I love the man very much." So and then so I lean in on Coach K. Well, hey, like I have a podcast, would love you to come on. And so it is a small world there, and it truly
Yeah,
is. And it's just a really cool um lens to be in, to just see the game through so many people, man. So yeah, I
100%.
appreciate your insight. Yeah, man. Um
Love it.
let let's talk about a hoops journey. Just
Yeah.
we're here two podcasts, how it starts to unfold, the birth of it, and the journey of a hoops journey, man. Take me through it.
Mhm. Well, I'll give a shout out to a guy named Ed LaFergie. He's moved to the Okanagan, but he was a coach here in the Lower Mainland at a high school called Semiamu. And we were just texting one day, and much like me, just into the game, loved coaching. And he said, "Hey, man, like, you've ever thought about doing a podcast? I think you'd be really good." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "I don't know. There's got to be a whole bunch of stories out there, BC alone, but when you start spreading out across Canada, because a lot of these podcasts, like, these bigger ones, that they get the big names, right? And there's a whole bunch of people, and like you said, maybe even smaller names that people wouldn't know as well, but there's so many great people with great stories, and I think that there's no
Right.
shame in trying to share as many of those as we can." And I thought, and then about a year went by, and then COVID hit, and so me and Corbin decided, he kind of pushed me and was like, let's really just give it a go. Like, what else do we have to do, man?" And I was like, all
Yeah.
right, let's go for it. And then you start something like that. And I'm sure you felt the same, as you start to feel a little bit of a different energy. An episode finishes and you're kind of like, I would have trouble falling asleep. And I would be like going back and listening to myself, how many times I would say like, or did I cut the
Yeah.
person off, or, did I do a good job of managing, and how's the production? And you get this little competitive spirit just internally, like not for any other reason, right? But you're kind of this new sort of growth sort of project, and then you just sort of get hook, line, and sinker, and then you realize, oh, like, yeah, Jay Triano in episode 13 or whatever is like, how far can this spiral into whatever else? And then you meet
Yeah.
and connect with all these amazing people, and you get someone like a Kaylee Theos who's just doing awesome things for Canada basketball, and just sort of becomes, it's like the kids in grade 11 at our school have to do a capstone project, it's called, but we like to use the term passion project because it's so important when you get older, um, outside of work and family life, if you have a family, what are those things that keep you going, right? What are those little
Right.
things that will be your passions, that will be your interests, whether it's still running up and down just for fun in men's league, or whether you become a gardener or whatever, you join a community center or something, right? And I think this itself sort of feeds the soul a bit. And when people reach out and say, "Hey, I really enjoyed that episode. That was awesome." Like, how can that not keep you going and keep you motivated? Or when the guest just says, "Hey, just re-listened," or they text you 2 days after recording and say, "I keep thinking about that episode. It's really nice to go back down some memories that, I've that have been past my mind for a while because I'm, still playing or for whatever reason." Right. So there's 1,000 reasons. And um, just continuing to keep it grow and build, I think it's just fun. It's just a fun project. And if I wasn't enjoying it, would have stopped it. And I'm sure you feel the same, right?
Yeah.
There's a million reasons where you could stop it, but I think there's also 2 million reasons why you want to keep it going. So what started in COVID just sort of kept snowballing, and it's just been a really fun adventure. And Corbin's moved on and is doing busier things in his life, but other people that want to step up and help and do their thing. So it's just been really, really, really fun. Yeah.
What's you know, something surprised you about it, Aaron? Like the whole journey and the process, maybe about
Mhm.
yourself or just the podcast itself or the community with it? Like what's really taking you aback through it all, man?
Another good question. Well, there's been two weird moments. Well, not weird, just one weird moment. So
Okay.
things like, I'm in Vegas a couple summers ago. I think you were there for that game when Canada played the US, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, pre-Olympics. And me
Yeah.
and a buddy we're rushing to our seats, and I don't know, cracks a joke and I laugh, and I'm wearing like a Steve Nash jersey, and guy's about 10 feet in front of me turns around and he's just like, "Hey, I recognize that laugh." And it's like he like recognized my voice. We're in the concourse in Las Vegas at like
Wow.
5 minutes before tip. And he's like, "Dude, I love the podcast. I had to say hi." And I'm like, "Whoa, like that's really weird, Like, and it's
Yeah.
not why you do it or whatever, but I was like, this guy recognized my voice and my laugh. And so, that. And then I think just whether it's Kevin Pangos, Silas Swords, Val Dillon, local coach here, Kaylee Theos, how human people really just are. If you're
Yeah.
willing to go onto a podcast like ours, you know that there's no money coming with it, that you're just probably a good human who wants to have a good conversation, right? And so when you realize that, like a guy like a Pangos who basically walked away from the NBA and that to go make really good money and play in Europe and have a really solid career, and he's just
Yeah.
like the coolest guy, you know, or like Kayla Alexander is just the most wholesome person, and the way that their
Yeah.
personality comes out through them, again sharing stories, like those are things that really stuck out to me. How you can go from having no connection with someone to a pretty good connection after 45 minutes to an hour of just talking about life and hoops, and how that is so intertwined. So those would be two things that sort of stand out. There's 3 million other, but those kind of things are the ones that you go, wow, and I'm sure you feel it too. It's like you have this expectation of how an episode's going to go, whether it's what you see on social media or what you read about the person or their story, and then they're like 180 degrees different,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
like, wow. Or you think you're going to have to pull all this conversation out of the person and they just feel safe and just go for it. And you're like, wow, so
Yeah.
it's really those little things, I think.
Yeah. Well said, man. I know, like, I got going right, and I'm like, oh man, like, can I do this? Can I actually pull this off in terms of like, will it be something that people will want to look at or hear or whatever? And
Yeah.
I managed somehow, like in that, I would say first season of it, if you will, like just like Carl English was my first guest, and
Yeah.
I put Carl in my top 5 for Canada basketball just because I love his
Sure.
story, and
Yeah.
I always would loved his game, tried to track him overseas when it was so hard to find numbers and stats, and then and I was terrible, man, like, I was so nervous, and I had to do it, I think, at, like, 6 a.m. because Carl's, like, in Newfoundland, so, like,
Ye-
4-hour difference, and I was like,
eh,
"Oh, man," so I was just sweating buckets, and then but through it, like, in that first year because of the pandemic, similar to you, like, people were available, they were free, they had
Mhm.
time, and I remember, like, after maybe, like, the first close to 20 episodes. I was like, this is insane. Like it's sitting down. We talked about Robert Sacre and like,
Mhm.
the guy played with the Lakers alongside Kobe, and you're just kind of like, is this happening? And not so for your own uh, gratification. It's just like, you're trying to just keep working at it because it's a new craft. And I think about those first 20 episodes, and I'm like, it far exceeded like anything I had expected. And so,
Yeah.
same thing, just try to keep it going because I've valued the connections and the relationship so much, and the opportunity to support people. And like, I'll always love the game. I'll always love Canada basketball, even if we weren't doing this. So
Yeah.
it's just another way to keep the support going in that sense. So it's been really cool. And, I've had people ask me, well, like, if it stopped today, would it be okay? And I said, yeah, for sure. It's just
Mhm.
it's a passion, it's a craft to challenge yourself and have new pursuits as you get older outside of responsibility stuff. I think it's very healthy. So yeah, I know, I love that, man. I think it's an opportunity to grow all the time too, and figure out maybe who you are as a person too through conversations and stories. And people are so relatable. And it's just it's been humbling to kind of do it, man. It really has.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and you learn skills about yourself. I'm guilty as charged, and my wife's always good as, if we're out socially, she'll give me a little elbow in the ribs and like because I don't like quiet spaces, right? I want people chatting and communicating because that's how I feed off energy. But some people just want quiet. And so one thing this thing really teaches you is to listen, right?
Yeah.
If you can't host a podcast and be a bad listener, you've got to be able to let people say their piece, or else it's not going to go well. So these little things that you mark off and you learn and grow at, we 44, I'm 48, and still kind of learning and growing is great, right? It's good.
Yeah. All right,
Um,
man. Okay, I'll hit you up with some hard questions for the pod there, okay?
let's do it.
Uh got a favorite episode? I know it's got to be hard,
Oh,
but like
come on.
maybe, or you can give me a couple that stand out, but an episode that you really really enjoyed, and for whatever reason, man.
I really enjoyed. Now, shout out to the 180 episodes that we've had. 180 hasn't been released yet, so love you all.
Right.
Obviously, episode one, a good friend of mine, Dom Zimmerman, played at UBC, played with him at Cap, played professionally over in Germany in the Bundesliga for a lot of years, and was like my captain when I was in college, and I was his rookie, and so we had a lot of life story. We now work together at our school, so different reasons for that. But just that first episode, like you said yourself, of oh my god, this is terrible and it's grainy and we need to do better. So that um, I really enjoyed, fresh in my brain. I really enjoyed the Jack Armstrong episode.
Nice.
Guy got me to cry for God's sakes emotionally, but there were so many
Yeah.
things that we connected on, through like both of us being adoptive parents and other things that I just really enjoyed a lot of the things he had to say. And he was one of those wasn't expecting, like I wasn't expecting it to be him. I knew he'd be dynamic, but he was above and beyond in terms of just as a human. Um, and then there's other ones like you get young people, which we'll give a shout out to again, like Sila and Jasmine, and you get them at the young parts of their career,
Yeah.
and now they're stepping on the scene and just absolutely crushing it. Um, the Kim Smith episode where you're like, this is Olympic legend royalty, and you get the chance to
Goat.
chat with her. Yeah, right.
Goat, man. Yeah.
Yeah, for real, for real. And that's just a privilege. So those are just a few. I really enjoyed chatting with Kyle Wilcher. I thought he was a really dope guy.
For sure.
He's never someone that I would have imagined would be willing to, but I know James DePoe pushed him a little bit and gave the stamp of approval, which always helps. And that when you get someone like that who you know is not really willing to, and is willing to take that risk for you because of a word of someone else,
Yeah.
those are kind of the cool ones. And I'm not lying. I'm not just saying this. Um, there's something to take away and I enjoy about every single one, good, bad, or in between. Whether it's something I could do better of, something I learned from that guest, a new podcast they recommend, whatever. So, yeah, I would hate to. I just did label off 10 or 12 episodes, but
Yeah, it's a hard question when you've had
For sure.
so many great ones and great guests, and I've loved seeing like who you have on your podcast. I'm like, man, killing it, and I know it's not an easy question. I think like
Mhm.
I've got like the first one with Carl will always be special for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I said, I was so nervous, and Carl's
I was
a
gonna say, do you ever feel like you go back and have Carl as like episode 50, just like redo it?
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
actually
He's such a
I've
good
been
guy though, right? He's told his story, so it's kind of he's probably like, "Don't stress it, man," but inside you're like, "Damn, man."
yeah, and well, and he like his personal side I felt was very, for me anyway, relatable just from a small place and his
Mhm.
perseverance and not an easy path, and then
For
um,
sure.
and just this or that episode stands out, and then geez, like yeah, just this is I I loved the episode where I have with Denham Brown because like we had trying to be putting that together for like probably 6 months, man, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, no sweat, and Denham is kind of a shy,
Yeah.
quiet person, and he's
Yeah.
reluctant to tell his story sometimes, but he had like he's a legend, and
For sure.
we finally made it work, and um, he enjoyed it. He thought it was fun, and he appreciated that. So I was glad he was happy, and yeah, there's some that stand out for sure, and you want to do do right by everybody that joins you to make sure that you know they're happy and they're telling the story the way they want, and because
Absolutely.
they're just doing it out of respect and love, and so you have to
Yeah.
understand that too. And
100%.
did you squeeze on when you met Steve at the function there? Did you squeeze on him to pull up? Like what's the story with
So
that, man?
so our so our neighbor is pretty high up at the actual Jewish community center. She's like the manager. So
Okay.
she's mentioned this event every year to me because she knows I love sports in general. They've had like Gronk, they've had Shaq. Last year
Wow.
it was like Richard Sherman, right? But it's always been the week of our basketball provincials, and that's when we have our banquet. It's like on a Tuesday night. And then this year, I'm not coaching, and she says, "You'll never guess who like the guest speaker is." And I said, "Who?" She says, "Steve Nash." You got to be kidding me. And so I
Right.
thought, I'll volunteer. I'll do whatever. I mean, just to hear him speak. And so, super funny story. I was like, if I get a chance, I'm going to mention the pod. Now I know, like, through Ian Hadlade, Andrew Mavis, I know they've mentioned it before. So he's heard, like, he's buddies with Gerald Cole. He's seen this stuff. He's liked the posts or whatever, but also just respectful of this guy and what he's doing.
Yeah.
Um, and so at the Hyatt Regency we're at, you have to take escalators to get up. So I'm on the second escalator, and I like to be early. My wife hates it, but like, so I'm supposed to be there for 4:30. It's 4 o'clock. So I get to the second floor and I turn the corner, and there's not one other person, Maddie, on this floor, and it's Steve and Marty.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay.
Now's the
So then
time,
I
man.
yeah, right. So I just went up, dapped them up, said hi, and then Steve was like, "Marty, like these guys, him and his brother," and he looked at me and I'm like, "My brother Sean." He's like, "Yeah, they used to live down." I was like, "Yeah," and I said, "I know." Not to like name drop, but it's good to connect. I was like, Mavis and Gerald are all good buddies. He's like, yeah, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, and you could see kind of the wheel turning for him. But for
Yeah.
me, like it just felt like such a good organic moment. I didn't want to, I did actually mention to Marty. I said, Marty, I tried to get you on my podcast that I host, a Hoops Journey, and then like I could see Steve kind of give me the head tilt, and I said, but you don't seem like much of a social media guy. He's like, nah. And I said, yeah, I tried to DM you, and then Hides, people I both played for Ian Hidley, said Hides gave me your number. And I just didn't hear back. He's like, sorry, man. And he's like, don't take it personal. I said, dude, this is the life.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
how it happens. Right. And so Steve and I chatted, and we had, we talked about old times and how life was going and what we were up to. And then he had to meet, his dad had a meeting. One of his old buddies from South Africa was in town. So they were going to go and have a coffee with him. And he said, I really hope we get the chance to connect at the event. Now, whether he was just saying that to get rid of me or blow smoke up my butt, I don't know. And I thought, yeah, yeah. And then I got to the event and was volunteering, and I'm like, I'm not going to get close to this guy. There's like 600 people. Like, it's a major fundraiser. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that there is a little bit of a bit of a drop there in his brain, and I know he has relayed messages saying he'll do it, but that he's still like he's got this laundry list of, I think, even from the Brooklyn days, of people that are like, and
Oh
he's a
yeah.
loyal guy, right? So I think he really wants to make sure he gets what he said he would do first before that, which I totally respect. And then now with his thing with LeBron, and he's very prideful in being a family man, which I get too. He wants to be home, and so
Yeah.
I think for all of us, it's like the golden ticket, right? So one day, I just think the interesting thing, like, what do you think? What would you talk to him about? Everybody knows his story, right? So it'd just be, I've always thought about, like,
Well, you could
how would
talk
you
to him
make it?
about growing up down the street from him, Mitch. I
Yeah, I
mean,
know. Yeah, for
no,
sure.
nobody else has that relationship or
Right.
connection in that sense. I mean, Steve's been asked a million things,
Yeah.
a million times, but that would be, hey, like, we're from Victoria, like,
Yeah. Used to watch
so
him and Marty juggle in the backyard, dude. That ball would not hit the grass. Like, they were just like hundreds
that's what
and
I'm
hundreds of
saying, right?
touches. Yeah.
They would be. It's funny. So, like, Steve would be. I'm assuming your ultimate guess, right? Like that was
For
kind of be
sure.
my yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about that in terms of like for
Yeah.
me too. I think Steve would be probably top. And like what would a conversation like that be? And like, um, he would be like if I ran into Steve, whatever, downtown Calgary here.
Yeah.
Like Steve would be a guy I would approach and say, "Hey, Steve, man, like I know I'm a grown ass man, and so are you, but I love you, man, and you've made such an impact in my life. Like, can we get a picture or whatever?" Right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
to me, like when I think about you know basketball people, like he would be the one guy I would ask that of.
Yeah.
Nobody else in the world.
It's a good way to
Um,
frame it.
yeah, just because it's Steve Nash and what he's meant to me, right? So,
Right.
and I think I also wonder what you said, like. How much would I want to really kind of get into the pod just out of respect or just chat about anything? So
Yeah.
yeah, like and so yeah, if he was to ever join a hoops journey or
Yeah.
or Canada hoops, like I often think about that. What would the conversation be like? Obviously, you'd want to touch on because Steve talks about how important the Sydney games were for him and representing Canada and that
Mhm.
group of players and that brotherhood and I think obviously you'd want to talk about that a little bit, but how much do you dive into whatever Santa Clara or two-time MVP? Like it would be very interesting to see how that conversation would unfold or what you would think you would
Mhm.
be preparing for and then where it could go because it's Steve Nash, man, like so
Yep.
yeah, interesting, very interesting, man.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Um okay. Let's talk Canada basketball a little bit.
Sure.
Just we've had obviously both have had guests for a hoops journey in Canada hoops that big time players for the program, coaches and CEO, and everyone's had a lot to say about what they think about the program and their rules. But for you, just through these conversations too, and being a supporter and a fan and a proud Canadian and a hooper, like what do you make of the program right now after seeing its trajectory and the rise and the state of it through your own eyes, plus the conversations on a hoops journey, man? What's your take on Canada basketball these days?
I mean, first, just to give a shout out to all the people from way back that showed up every single day for our rosters and teams and whatever they were,
Yeah,
when it wasn't that glamorous. But I love the fact that when I got like a little zip up jacket, people, what's that? I'm like, oh, Canada basketball. Oh, that's really nice, man. They're doing, and it sparks a conversation. Whereas before it was just be like, oh, that's just a nice zip up and be gone. People are like, whoa, you can basketball. We've got NBA players and WNBA players, and it seems to be on the rise. And so I
yeah,
think there's the pride is still there. It's always been there. People wouldn't show up if they didn't feel pride representing their country. But I think the names and people that we are getting to play shows that Canada's figured out how to take care of them when they're on the road, when they're off the road, whatever it is, to make things as good as possible. I love, the girls are better doing like the day in the life, and you see they're on a first class flight, and they arrive to the hotel, and it's professional, right? It's really well taken care of, and so that's just really really great to see. And I think the two things are combined. They have to be, right? We weren't going to be able to take that step, get the right players, have the people be part of it until the funding, the sponsorship, the communication, the social media, like all those things were tightened up.
Yeah.
And Bartlett and crew have done just a phenomenal job. So it's just great to see, because there's a lot of us that have been sitting in basements with dust all around us, screaming at a TV. And I'm okay to now be in the living room on the middle floor with maybe 5 casuals, because
Yeah.
that means it's growing and it's going in the right way. So how can you not have nothing but pride and happiness with what we're doing? I think there's a lot of big expectations for LA, but I also think we just need to keep going and doing our thing one day and one step at a time and see what happens, you know?
Yeah, I think similar conversations I've had, obviously, and just my own look at it now the last 25 years, like just seeing the growth and, some tough moments with, lack of funding, and the program was not desirable to a point for players to commit
Hmm.
for various reasons. And yeah, like I remember you mentioned Vegas, and I remember having a conversation with Bartlett real quick when we were there, and he was kind of looking around. It was pretty much, I think it was just pregame before the game against the US. And
Yeah.
I had seen him around the practice and whatever, but Mike's looking around, Aaron, and he's just like, this is what it's supposed to be in terms of it's a high profile event. Yeah, USA basketball was putting it on, but it was a great matchup for us too prior to the games, and get more eyes on the program. And obviously the world knows who Shea is and Jamal Murray is, and so on down the line,
Yeah.
and Dylan Brooks. But it's like, for a program perspective, it stood out to me because I know Mike was. It felt like a culmination to a point, and obviously they were still going to Paris, which was hugely important. But I could just see it in Mike's face, where like, this is what I wanted, and this is what the program deserves. This is what the community
Hmm.
deserves. This is
Hmm.
what our players deserve. And so now it's at a point where it's hugely recognizable. FIBA has pushed to make Canada basketball very visible too in terms of a program, and it's been easy to do with some really great players that have bought in. But yeah, well said. I think it's just in a great spot. The women are trying to punch their ticket tomorrow morning against Australia to the World Cup, and yeah, fingers crossed. It's gonna be a tough game, and now it's easy to watch this stuff on TSN. Like, it's just in a really good spot. And when you
Yeah,
talk to the
man.
players, like they understand the importance. Like they want to do it because they feel like it's been reciprocated now through the program and the community. So yeah, I agree. I think the program is moving forward in a really good spot. And when you talk like, um, to people within the program to have, the likes of Shea commit and want to do it, it's made it a lot easier. The players deserve a lot of credit because they don't necessarily have to do it at times, but they make it important for themselves too. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm really looking forward to the next 2 summers, really, with this summer coming up, the women, let's qualify, and then the men for 27, and then obviously both teams for 28. Man, well said.
Yeah. Just everything's just done with a higher level, like
Yeah,
we had Nate Mitchell filling in our windows. That guy's like
I know.
probably should be an NBA assistant, right? You know what I mean? So it's just like everything is upped. And like you think about Kyle, who you had on as well, you think about his situation. 15 years ago, he probably never comes back to the national team, right?
Right.
Whatever happened there, he didn't talk about it with me, but there was obviously some things that uncomfortable feelings and stuff. But now he looks around and he's like, you know what? They gave me the call. This looks like something I want to be a part of, which might not always have been the case. And I'm sure there were lots of scenarios where guys were like, you know what, I'm good. And now he's having a great year in Italy. And like, I don't
Yeah.
know if he'll crack a roster, but those are the small examples that I think show kind of where we're at, you know?
Well, I think a guy like him, it's interesting. We didn't really get into it, but I got the sense like he was really excited and grateful. And I think now with like Gordy, you've had Gordy on, right, Herbert?
Yep. Yep.
So I mean, Gordy, I think, feels like the kind of guy that he'll look at some winter core players, give an honest opportunity to them, and Kyle would fit a need in terms of a shooter.
Yeah, for
Would
sure.
he play a ton of minutes? Probably not. But
Yeah.
he could make a roster for 27 at the World Cup, and based also on his willingness to commit through the winter windows. And you can't. He'd be a high. He's a lethal shooter, a higher gunner. So I mean, he can really snipe it. So um, I think now guys are looking at it like you never know, an opportunity could pop up, and if you don't try to play in the downtime with the windows, then you're not going to get that look. So I think a guy like that could make a roster. If there's injuries, there's lots in play for that. But
Yeah,
yeah, well said. I think it's exciting, man. Like
big time.
so pumped. Okay, man. Top 5 or favorite 5 for Canada basketball.
Woo! Okay, I remixed it a little bit here for you.
I know
So
that. I love that.
wanted to add some flavor. I did make some changes from what I originally sent you to. So
Okay.
first of all, I went with the All Matty West Coast edition for you. So we're gonna go the West Coast, the left coast, the best coast,
Yeah.
just to throw it out there.
Yeah.
And this is a mixture of personal preference. Well, it's personal preference. Obviously, it's my list.
Yeah.
But I do have a little bit of reasoning behind it. So obviously, we've got Steve Nash. How can you not have him on any list? You know, nothing else needs to be said. I'd say I added Jordy McTavish. I think a very
Nice.
slept on story.
Yeah.
Had the opportunity to play U19 with him for 2 summers. He was a year younger than me, but most likely would have been on the 2000 team, but ends up tearing his knee twice at a young age, which highly, highly impacted his career. The guy was the backup point guard to Andre Miller at Utah. So just an unbelievable player, just sort of like his game would have translated really well to today, that scoring guard. So I had him in there just because I got love. Another guy
He's from Salmon Arm, BC, eh?
Salmon Arm, baby. Yes, sir.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
One of a handful of guys to not win the BCs, but be voted as like the MVP of the tournament. I think there's like 4 or 5 in the history, 80 years of the tournament, right? So,
Wow.
yeah. So that's how good he was. And this guy as well, Kelly Olynyk, another
Yes.
MVP, but also didn't win the provincial championship. I just, his story's great. It's love to see. The person that gets him on the pod first, I want nothing but Wemby stories. But I do respect that he's a quiet guy and keeps to himself. So I know, but I mean, just an absolute BC legend, and was just such an impactful player out here, and created a lot of dreams for kids. My homie, who I also think would translate to a great game out in today's era, is Andrew Mavis, member of the 2000 team. Played U19 with him as well. We battled against each other in high school. I just think his ability to shoot the three would really, really go well. When we had Ben Howland, who coached him in university on, he said he's like one of the top 3 shooters he's ever seen. So, big love to Maeve. And then my dog, who just, I don't know why he keeps avoiding me for this podcast. I text him on a daily basis as a friend, but I think he wants to do it in person over a few cold ones, and that he doesn't like to do it via Zoom. But that's big Eric Heinrichsen, an absolutely dominant player at the university level and high school. Another guy actually who was MVP and didn't win it because we beat his team in the semifinal. Take that, sucker. But just another member of that 2000 team. You can see my vintage. So that's my West Coast. Did you do a West Coast, or do you want me to keep going with my list here?
Keep going, man. I love this.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I made a current Canadian top 5. These are all personal. We may struggle on the glass a little bit with this team, but I have some reasoning behind the guys that I picked. So obviously SGA, how can you not have him? It's phenomenal to see not only what he is as a player, but also as a human being. Just so grounded. His quotes this last week about being a teammate and how you need people around you. I hope people are listening to what this guy has to say, man. And I don't want to hear anything about foul baiting after a guy who averages 4.6 free throws a game shot 43 the other night to get 83. So I do not want to hear one Shea complaint about foul baiting ever again. That should have just solidified things. You feel me on that, Maddie? Like, come on, man.
It's I just, with the Shea thing too, like what an incredible person to represent Canada basketball, our country, worldwide.
For sure.
Just that's, to me, enough said. Anyway, keep going.
Yep. Yeah. Dylan Brooks, I just love everything he brings. In that game in Vegas, I was screaming while he was killing US in the first and second quarter. Because people were saying just ship him off and go play overseas and in Asia and all this. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I just love that he's stuck true to who he is. And I think he's a major glue guy. The guys seem to love playing with him and for him. And I just think what he brings on the court are intangibles and things. And it's just funny to me. People are like, whoa, he's scoring. It's like, did you not watch this guy at Oregon? He just never had the chance. His role changed. And if you become a pro, you're going to do what the coaches want to stay on the court. That's just natural, right? When your boss asks you to do something, if you can continue to do that skill set, you're going to do it. And
you're
now he's getting an opportunity.
Paid, man. Trying to stay paid. Yeah.
Right. And now it's, we're starting to see, and the fruits of his labor, he's stuck with it. He's trusted it. So I just love him. And I think he's great for the international game too. The crowds don't bother him. The different style doesn't bother him. Next one, mutual, you and I, and A-Dub, Nikhil. I just love the opportunity he's getting in Atlanta. I'm a Timberwolves guy, so I was very sad to see him go. But I love that he's flourishing. I hate when guys I like get traded and then their role changes for the worse. But I just think he brings a lot to both sides of the floor as well. And in the FIBA game, you need that too. RJ Barrett, and this is strictly only for him being an all-time, OG for Canada. And what he did with that junior national team on that one run was just so special. And he could never score another bucket. And I think I might have him in there just forever, just because of that,
for sure.
He was just so phenomenal. And so special that year. And then we've got the OG, and I think you need some veteran presence at the FIBA level, which is why they kept Kelly around and other guys, but we got Melvin, just such a great guy. And I think the thing that's funny for me too is where he's at. And I know you feel this is like, we see Melvin for who he is now as that vet, but this dude was a freaking baller, man. Like he's going in the rafters in Iowa State. Broke records there, has played at the highest levels overseas, and been the main guy or one of the main guys on every team he's been on. So I got Melvin in there to round up my 5 for the current Canadians.
Love it, man. Did you send me a women's list too?
I do. I got a women's list.
Let's hear it, man.
Totally biased here. Yeah. We got 4 out of 5 actually podcast guests. So let's go. I'm loving the women's national team. I think we're in a weird place of where we've got these vets and we've got these young killers kind of coming in, and how do we blend that? Obviously, Jasmine and Sila can't join us right now because they're getting ready for March Madness, and that's the priority.
Yeah,
but it's going to be interesting to see who stays, who doesn't, who we bring in. I mean, we've got Avery. There's so many, but I got Sila and Jasmine in the backcourt. I couldn't imagine keeping up with those two for 40 minutes. Both of them bring so many different things to the court. And then I've got Bridget Carlton, just a phenomenal scorer. And then the fourth player as just that veteran presence, but still getting it done, is Kayla Alexander. Holy smokes.
Big time.
What an impressive career she's had and is still having. Clearly someone who takes care of herself and her fitness and everything. And is just like, I don't know, and just a salt of the earth human. And then just after the last few days watching her perform, I didn't originally have her in this 5, and I'm not sure why, because we need a little more size and some wing presence. I got Leah Edwards. I mean, what a bulldog, just an absolute force and that physical presence. So a little bit of young, a little bit of in between, and a veteran presence as well. So that's my 5 for the ladies. And no disrespect to anyone. Love and appreciate you all. This is all just personally my own list. So please don't be offended.
Major, man. I mean, I always kind of enjoy asking that question. And
how'd I do?
Well, I killed it, man. I thought, I mean, like, no argument here. I'm not going to argue with anyone's 5 anyway. I mean, we all,
of course.
I feel like it should be kind of a personal thing anyway. I mean, we all have favorites, and there's people that are really tough to not include, obviously, like, Steve makes most 5s. You got, like, Shay's got to be in most 5s now. I just think, like, so I always kind of go Steve, Carl, personal fave. Played
Love
for the
it.
program. Yeah, he played for the
Can't
program a
hate on
lot.
that. Yep.
Um, I'm a big Corey Joseph guy. I love Kojo.
Love it.
Played for the program big time. Kelly's in there for me too. I just think his story. I have ties to Kamloops as well. I just
Dope.
what he's done through his career, incredible.
Mhm.
Shave. I always had a 4, and I kind of struggled for 5, and then I can't not include Shay now, and I've loved Nikhil for a lot of reasons too. Just having to really fight for his NBA life at times.
Yeah, man.
Goes to that situation in Minnesota to contribute and have a role. And now with Atlanta, and you nailed it, to see him flourish in a new situation and not maybe take a downturn. And I've had a conversation with them actually in Victoria one time, and just a nice, humble guy. And I just really like his perspective on things. And he's well spoken, and I think he's got a really good insight in terms of what his career's been like and his grind. And so he'd be like a 6 man, I guess, for me. So yeah, great 5s, Aaron, man. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with any of that for sure, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Man, anything like, first of all, any shout outs or thank yous before we get you out of here, but anything you want to plug for a hoops journey as well, man?
Sure.
What's on the go, man?
Man, whenever this comes out, we just recorded with Jacob Holt, young up and coming baller who's
Nice.
playing in Australia. He's in Germany now, a local guy here. Done really well. Actually chopping it up tomorrow with Colin Charles, the legendary Colin Charles.
Nice, man.
Yeah, throwback name. So that'll be a fun episode. I was doing my research this morning over my coffee, and I was like, man, the layers of this. So, but just shout out, follow us on Instagram, reach out. People are always DMing saying you have this guest. We're on all socials, and just like, subscribe, download. You don't got to listen to every episode, but if you download it, it helps. Am I right, Maddie? But
Yeah.
big shout out to you, man, to you and all the work you're doing, juggling your life, your personal life, and still trying to keep this podcast going. I think it's so fun I don't know what pod. It was actually really funny when you reached out, because I was just listening to an episode of just a random leadership podcast, and they were talking about how one of the best things you can do is collaborate with people that are in the same field as you, if you're a podcaster, right? And then it was like days later, you just reached out. I was like, yo, it's funny how the world works, man. We got Canada Basketball Show as well. You've collabed with them as well. So lots of people that I think just care about the community and just keep building and doing it for the right reasons and keep doing you. And it was an absolute honor and privilege to be on today, man. And thank you for sharing my story and chopping it up with me. It's been really, really good. I was actually really excited about this morning. It's a great way to start the spring break.
No, man, I appreciate that. And same, man, love what you're doing. I hope everyone checks you out if they already haven't. And I think the collaboration idea was super fun, and I appreciate that. And always love to support you. And, it's just about, you got to help others without, expecting anything back. And I just think, that's what it should be all about, man. Truly, truly appreciate it, man. I know we'll talk again for sure.
Yes, sir, man. Much love to you. And just keep going and go freaking Canada always, man.
Hell yeah. Okay. Well, that does it for another episode of Canada Hoops. I want to thank Aaron Mitchell and A Hoops Journey for pulling up. Please like, follow, download, and subscribe to A Hoops Journey. Thank you for listening. Remember to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Check out our YouTube channel. Hit us up on Instagram and x.com. Keep supporting Canada basketball and our Canadian Hoopers, and we will see you on the next episode.